Thomas sat by the bedside of his ailing son, Henry, whose once vibrant spirit was now a shadow of its former self. The doctors had given up hope, and Thomas could not bear to watch his child slip away. Desperation gripped his heart, driving him to seek any means necessary to save Henry, no matter the cost. In the depths of his despair, Thomas recalled the old, forbidden texts he had stumbled upon years ago, hidden away in the university's archives. They spoke of dark rituals and ancient entities that could grant miracles for a price. With a mixture of dread and resolve, he retrieved the dusty tomes and began the ritual to summon a demon. As Thomas chanted the incantations, the air grew heavy and cold, shadows creeping along the walls. A figure emerged from the darkness, its presence filling the room with an overwhelming sense of dread. Azazel, the demon of old, stood before him, a malevolent grin spreading across its grotesque face. "You seek a bargain, mortal?" Azazel's voice was a chilling whisper that echoed in Thomas's mind. Thomas, trembling, nodded and explained his plight, his voice breaking with emotion. Azazel listened, its eyes gleaming with unholy light, before offering a sinister smile. "I can save your son, but the price will be steep." Thomas hesitated for only a moment before agreeing to the demon's terms. Azazel's eyes glowed with malevolent delight as it extended a clawed hand. Thomas took it, feeling a cold, burning pain sear through his soul. The bargain was struck, and Azazel vanished, leaving Thomas alone in the room, consumed by a mixture of hope and dread. The morning light filtered through the curtains as Thomas awoke, hoping the previous night's events were a nightmare. But as he turned to Henry's bed, he saw his son sitting up, color returning to his cheeks. Relief washed over him, but it was fleeting as he remembered the price he had paid. Days passed and Henry's health continued to improve, but Thomas began to notice strange occurrences around the house. Shadows moved independently of their sources, and whispers filled the air at night. He tried to dismiss these as tricks of his exhausted mind, but the sense of dread grew stronger with each passing day. One evening, while Thomas was reading in the study, the temperature plummeted, and the candles flickered out. Azazel appeared once more, his presence chilling the room. "You seem troubled, Thomas," the demon sneered. "Enjoying the fruits of our bargain?" Thomas demanded to know what Azazel truly wanted. The demon's laughter echoed through the room as he revealed that the bargain had bound Thomas's soul to his will. Henry's life had been spared, but now Thomas's very essence belonged to Azazel, to be called upon whenever the demon desired. Panic surged through Thomas as he realized the depth of his mistake. He pleaded with Azazel for a way out, but the demon only grinned and vanished, leaving Thomas in darkness. The whispers grew louder, mocking him for his foolishness, and he knew that his nightmare had only just begun. Thomas's mind raced as he sought a way to break the infernal pact he had made. He delved deeper into the forbidden texts, hoping to find a loophole or counter-ritual that could free him from Azazel's grasp. Each page seemed to mock his desperation, offering no solutions and only deepening his sense of doom. Henry, oblivious to his father's turmoil, played happily in the garden, his laughter a painful reminder of what Thomas had sacrificed. One afternoon, as Henry chased a butterfly, Thomas saw a shadow pass over his son. His heart froze as he recognized the dark presence of Azazel, watching from a distance. Determined to protect Henry at all costs, Thomas sought the counsel of a reclusive occultist who lived on the outskirts of town. The old man listened to Thomas's tale with a grave expression, warning him that breaking a demon's bargain was nearly impossible, and often came with dire consequences. Desperate, and with no other options, Thomas prepared to perform the occultist's risky ritual. The night was stormy, lightning illuminating the darkened skies as Thomas gathered the necessary items and chanted the incantations. The air grew thick with tension, and Thomas could feel Azazel's presence drawing nearer. Just as Thomas completed the ritual, Azazel appeared, enraged and more menacing than ever. "You think you can defy me, mortal?" the demon roared, his voice shaking the very foundations of the house. Thomas stood his ground, clutching a talisman given to him by the occultist, praying it would be enough to protect him and Henry from Azazel's wrath. Azazel's fury reverberated through the night as he lunged at Thomas, who stood his ground, the talisman glowing fiercely in his grasp. The demon recoiled, momentarily repelled by the artifact's power, but his eyes burned with a promise of retribution. Henry, awakened by the commotion, rushed outside to find his father engaged in a battle of wills with the monstrous figure. Fear and confusion filled the boy's eyes as he watched the struggle unfold, his young mind unable to comprehend the gravity of the situation. With a roar, Azazel unleashed a wave of dark energy, shattering the protective circle Thomas had drawn. The talisman flickered and dimmed, and Thomas felt the cold grip of despair tightening around his heart. He had come so close, yet the demon's power seemed insurmountable. In a last, desperate attempt, Thomas invoked an ancient incantation he had read about but never dared to use. The air crackled with energy as he spoke the forbidden words, drawing upon every ounce of his remaining strength. Azazel's form wavered, the demon snarling in rage and pain. The incantation's power surged, and Thomas felt his connection to the talisman reignite. With a final guttural cry, he drove the demon back, forcing Azazel to retreat into the shadows. Exhausted and battered, Thomas collapsed to the ground, his son rushing to his side. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The aftermath of the battle left Thomas physically and emotionally drained. He knew that Azazel had been driven away, but the demon was not defeated. The realization that his struggle was far from over weighed heavily on him as he tended to Henry, who looked at his father with a mix of awe and fear. Days turned into weeks, and the eerie calm that followed the confrontation gave Thomas a false sense of security. He continued to study the forbidden texts, searching for a permanent solution to rid himself and his son of Azazel's shadow. His health deteriorated as the strain took its toll. One night, Henry came to Thomas with a disturbing revelation. He had been having nightmares where Azazel whispered to him, promising to return and claim what was his. Thomas's heart sank as he realized the demon's influence was still present, lurking in the corners of their lives. Desperate for a final resolution, Thomas decided to perform one last dangerous ritual. It required both him and Henry to confront Azazel together, drawing on their combined strength to banish the demon permanently. The ritual was their only hope, but it came with great risk. As father and son stood side by side in the ritual circle, the air grew thick with dark energy. Azazel materialized, more furious than ever, his form towering over them. With a final, desperate incantation, Thomas and Henry channeled their willpower, the talisman glowing with blinding light. Azazel roared in fury as he was pulled into the void, the bond broken at last. Exhausted but victorious, Thomas and Henry collapsed, knowing they had finally won their freedom.